Part 129. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1282. Zhang Chen and Mr. Li said that there is no rush to eat. Mr. Li, please arrange the fabrics first. Mr. Li said okay, we will leave later. On the other side, Xiao Li had already called and asked people from the technology department and supply department to come over immediately. The linen and ramie yarns needed for the test fabrics are available in their warehouse. What needs to be purchased is spandex yarn for elastic fabrics, as well as gold, silver, nylon, and dyed viscose yarns for glitter fabrics. Various types of yarns may be used. I purchased some of the materials I received and tried them out. Mr. Zhang and the others are waiting here. Mr. Li and his men said, you go shopping in the afternoon, and we will go on the machine test in the evening. The sooner the better. The two of them took the order and left. Mr. Li and Zhang Chen said, how is it, Mr. Zhang, are you relieved now? Zhang Chen quickly put his hands together and bowed, thank you, Mr. Li. The development zone where Mr. Li's company is located is much smaller than the Xiaosha development zone, but the problem is the same, that is, the living supporting facilities are extremely lacking. There are not even decent hotels in the development zone. For food and accommodation, you have to go to Zhangjiagang City. The four people walked out of the office. Zhang Chen asked Mr. Li, is there any place to live in your factory? If so, we would like to live in the factory. How can that be done? Mr. Li said, there is a place to live, but it is usually reserved for some salesmen who come and go. How can Mr. Zhang and Mr. He be allowed to live in such a place? Zhang Chen said, it doesn't matter. We are here to work. It's more convenient to live in the factory. Don't we have to get on the plane at night? I want to follow and have a look. To be honest with Mr. Li, if the fabric can't be made, I won't even live in the factory. Everyone in the palace will be restless. Mr. Li said okay, then listen to Mr. Zhang. He turned around and said to Xiao Li, go call the office, clean and disinfect the room, and replace all the bedding and toiletries inside. New. When the four of them arrived at a hotel in the city for dinner, Zhang Chen told Mr. Li that this meal would be the last time he went out to eat. Next, Mr. Li, we can just eat in the factory cafeteria. Same thing. I understand, if the fabric can't come out, even if I ask you, Mr. Zhang, to eat a Manchu Han banquet, you won't have the appetite. Mr. Li said. Everyone laughed, and Mr. Li sighed, oh, now, Mr. Zhang, I'm under great pressure. If I can't figure it out, I don't know how to send you, the Bodhisattva, away. Zhang Chen quickly said, just try your best. If it doesn't work, I will find another way. However, Mr. Zhang, you said something wrong. Mr. Li smiled. Zhang Chen asked, which sentence? As for the last sentence, if this test is successful, Mr. Zhang, why don't you celebrate? Mr. Li asked. Zhang Chen laughed, and he said yes, with Mr. Li's auspicious words, if the experiment was successful, Mr. Li and I would stay drunk together. Zhang Chen and He Hung Mei just lived in Mr. Li's factory. During the day, they watched the technicians try various materials in the workshop. At night, they had nothing to do and there was no other place to go here, so they just go hang out in the development area outside, sit in the corridor outside and chat, or simply go to the workshop to watch the night shift workers at work. Sure enough, as Mr. Li expected, the stretch linen was quickly made. Zhang Chen tried it and found it to be similar to what he expected. However, the attempt to make shiny linen was not ideal. It was not that the fabric was not fast enough after it came out. A crack appeared when I pulled it, and there was no way to make it into a ready-made garment. Perhaps the gloss did not meet Zhang Chen's requirements. According to Zhang Chen's requirements, the technicians changed the two weft yarns to luminous nylon yarns. The brightness was enough, but Zhang Chen felt that the texture of linen was gone. It looks like a regular tarpaulin, or fabric from children's clothing. After the trial, not only the technicians, but also Zhang Chen himself felt lost. He felt that he could not explain clearly what kind of effect was needed. Hongmei watched anxiously from the side, but was helpless. She knew what effect Zhang Chen wanted, that is, it still looked like cotton and linen fabric, but it could also sparkle. But this is easy to say, but not so simple to do. Zhang Chen and Hongmei stayed with Mr. Li and his friends for 4 days, but there was still no progress. This made Zhang Chen anxious and even considered whether the fabric needed to be changed. You must know that the time of the fashion show has been determined and is unchangeable. Whether it is an agreement with a model company, a performance company, or the Hangzhou City Garden Bureau, it has been signed and there is no way to change it. At that time, on Beatty, regardless of whether you have a fashion show in the end, the performance company will build the T stage according to the contract, arrange the lighting and sound in place, and arrange the seats for guests and audiences, as well as temporary buildings for models to put on makeup and change clothes. Installed in place. A large number of models will come from all over the country. Even if you don't have clothes and you are wearing a piece of cloth, they will still come on stage. Including invitations to media in the industry, as well as several guests that Xiao Huang helped arrange, the time for the special trip to Hangzhou has been determined. Although it is the second time for them to attend their company's event, the last time was the opening of the Beijing specialty store. But this time, after all, we were not in Beijing, but in Hangzhou. How could we change our itinerary on the fly? Invitations to the clothing department managers of major shopping malls across the country have also been sent out. Will so many people come to see your performance that is destined to be a disaster? If compared to other designers, a large-scale fashion show like this would take at least a year to prepare. Zhang Chen felt that it was not necessary. He was confident in his own design, so when he came up with the idea of holding a large-scale fashion show, Ji Ling asked Zhang Chen whether this year would be too hasty and whether she could consider leaving it to next year. Zhang Chen categorically said no. If necessary, I am not Zhang Chen. Don't compare me with those designers who can't even draw a decent portrait. No matter how good their pretense is, in my eyes, they are just weaklings. But now, without even suitable fabrics, Zhang Chen felt that all he had to do was make a meal without rice, just like asking Hui Huan to make a tofu pot without tofu. No matter how nimble her hands and feet were, it was of no use. Hongmei deliberately wanted to divert Zhang Chen's attention. After dinner, she suggested going for a walk outside. The two of them walked and chatted in the development zone. Hongmei asked Zhang Chen, "Master, have you ever thought about what you are going to do this time? What style?" Zhang Chen said without thinking that the venue for the catwalk was outdoor, and it was at night, on the edge of the West Lake. It was not easy to attract attention in such a wide open space. I went to the show several times at night, and besides, in addition to the on-site lights, there is also the light show of Gemstone Mountain behind. These must be taken into consideration, as these will distract the audience's attention. Therefore, in terms of style, the shape of the entire fashion show clothing must be very exaggerated, so that it will have a visual impact and focus the audience's attention on the model and the clothing. Is there a frame of reference? Hongmei asked. Zhang Chen thought for a moment and said, "If there is one, it is Issey Miyake." Issey Miyake. Yes, Issey Miyake. I like Issey Miyake very much. I think he is different from European and American designers. He has blazed his own path, a path with Oriental connotations. Hongmei thought for a moment, then shook her head and said, "I don't understand. We Orientals, from the bottom of our hearts, are still very restrained, or very conservative. This is determined by our culture. To a certain extent, it can also be said to be very hypocritical. For example, there are red light districts in Japan. In many places, it is not open to whites and blacks. They think you are an alien race and it is embarrassing for you to know something. The same goes for Japanese geishas. It's obviously a pornographic business, but it maintains a certain level. Actually, we were the same in ancient China. We were not as naked as we are now. Including those Jinling hairpins in the past, they were all performers but not their bodies. It's okay to drink wine with you, but if you have to go to bed, I'm sorry, but you still have to see if she's okay. I like you, so in the past, to be favored by a famous prostitute, for many scholars, not only is it not embarrassing, but it is also a very decent thing, and it will be publicized everywhere. So xiao xiao, dong zioan, lurishi, etc. will become a good talk. It's a bit far-fetched, but the character of us Orientals is actually like this. Whatever we want, we have to play hard to get. Whatever we want to do, we hold the pipa half hidden. What we want to say is always talked about by the king. The royal capital is so out of place, let alone ordinary people. We have always been ashamed to show our true side, including now. Everyone is chasing profits and everyone wants to make a fortune, but look at how many bosses dare to say it very frankly and loudly, my ideal is to make a fortune. I don't know how to talk about it, but I talk about building a business and making it bigger. There are even more vain things. What I like to talk about most is corporate social responsibility. You can't run your damn business well, and your employees' wages can't be paid on time. How can you talk about social responsibilities? Don't think about society. You don't need to take care of society. You should first think about how to run the business well and how to do it well. It is your responsibility to make your employees earn more. Master, it seems that Issey Miyake has gone too far again, he Hongmei reminded. Zhang Chen laughed and said, okay, I will talk about Issey Miyake when he comes back. You have worked with Shino Harada and others. You should know that Japanese people have the nature to make things perfect. When you receive a gift, it looks beautiful on the outside. When you open it, there is a beautiful box inside. Open it again, inside is a smaller and very beautiful box. When you open the box, you will find beautifully packaged food. If you open the wrapping paper, if you don't do it right, there are still 2 layers of wrapping paper. I opened it layer by layer, and finally saw the food inside. I took a bite with great anticipation, and here I go, isn't it just Wang Wang snow cake cut into strips? He Hongmei laughed, she was right, it was really like that. Japanese food always looks better than it tastes. Each piece of sushi looks beautiful, but to be honest, it's not as delicious as glutinous rice balls. But there is a very scary thing in this, and that is the spirit of craftsmanship. The Japanese do this for camera lenses, screws and nuts, cars, and paintings. The works of Higashi Yamakai are all large scale. He can paint a painting for several months a year. He worked like clockwork every day. He got up every morning, had breakfast, washed his hands, went to the studio, painted until noon, had lunch, took a nap, got up from his nap, continued painting, painted until evening, had dinner, day after day. There is no communication, no entertainment, everything is done quietly by one person. He draws, but he relies on passion. What kind of passion can last for so long? Then what does he rely on? What he relies on is faith. Nature, belief in the mountains and rivers of Japan. He paints with faith like piety, just like Michelangelo painted those murals. He uses oil paints, but what he paints is the spirit of the East. Standing in front of his paintings, you can smell it, the breath in the valley, the sound of snow falling on thousands of mountains and valleys. Wang Wei's poetry in his paintings, so beautiful that it makes you want to cry but can't. This is his persistence. The so-called Eastern spirit actually comes from the Tang dynasty. It is majestic and confident. No matter how the wind blows, I am standing there. The entire Japanese culture continues the Tang dynasty culture, and its foundation is from the Tang dynasty. What has changed in the West is only its superficial appearance. Zhang Chen looked at He Hongmei and said to her, "Don't worry, we're going to talk about Issey Miyake soon. How do you feel about Issey Miyake's design? Is it a bit like the freehand brushwork in Chinese paintings, and the whole costume is very exaggerated?" He Hongmei nodded. Zhang Chen said, "But have you noticed that he is very conservative? European and American designers, when it comes to boldness, are very stupid, but they know how to expose themselves. Models wear less and less clothes, or rely on some external things to wear on their heads. Make a bird's nest, or insert a few branches or something. Issey Miyake never does this. He just maximizes the characteristics of fabrics. His designs are a combination of bold and conservative, wild and restrained. He uses fabrics to wrap up the whole person without revealing anything." "Master, it seems that you had a similar conversation with Miss Gong last time, and that time you were talking about Chong Sam," He Hongmei said. "Yes, the same is true for the Chong Sam. It is the most flamboyant and expresses the beauty of a woman's body to the extreme. However, look at it, even the neck and armpits are covered tightly, not revealing at all." Zhang Chen said, "This is the Eastern way of expression, Eastern language. We understand what X sense is better than Westerners. Thank you for reading the book every day, and for the reward of 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night." "Thank you. Why can't I change my name?" First Home Mortgage, Tianying 1978 Monthly Pass. Thanks for all the recommendations and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1283. Mr. Li knew that Zhang Chen was anxious, and he was also anxious. He put on his work clothes himself and ran to the air-jet loom in the workshop. In his early years, Mr. Li worked as a technician at the National Cotton Factory No. 3 in Nantung. Nantung National Cotton No. 3 Factory, formerly known as Dashan No. 3 Factory, is a key state-owned large-scale cotton textile enterprise. The town where the National Cotton No. 3 Factory is located is called No. 3 Factory Town. From the bottom of his heart, Li always hopes to make fabrics that satisfy Zhang Chen. He listened to Zhang Chen's introduction to his fashion show and knew that with the strength of Zhang Chen's company, Zhang Chen's personal design ability, and how to do things this time, the style will definitely be a big event and will cause a sensation inside and outside the industry. This fashion show, while displaying fashion, is also a display of new fabrics. Mr. Li could even ask Zhang Chen to bring over the film of the fashion show and use it for publicity. He has done this before. Both Zhang Chen and He Hongmei are listed in their factory's brochures. Their honor is not his honor. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei were both very generous. When Mr. Li told them his thoughts, they all agreed to Mr. Li's request. They are not brothers. Zhang Chen said, "What is there to say? Mr. Li, if you don't mind someone being ugly, just use it." If he can make fabrics that Zhang Chen is satisfied with, Mr. Li believes that this fabric will definitely attract the attention of the entire market, and then it will be his business. The size of Mr. Li's company has more than doubled compared to when Zhang Chen and He Hongmei first came here. They rely on not only the booming business of Zhang Chen and his company in recent years, but also the business brought by Zhang Chen to them. Not just business, but also goodwill. Many customers were hesitant. When comparing products from several factories, they knew that Ban Mu Tian's fabrics were supplied by them. Without hesitation, they placed orders with them, even if the price was a little more expensive than other factories. Ban Mu Tian is the leading brand of cotton and linen clothing in the country. The factories they trust and have long-term cooperation with are a symbol of quality. Mr. Li very much hopes that he can successfully try out new fabrics this time, which will not only help Zhang Chen and others, but also become a guarantee for his own subsequent business. This is how working in a factory is. Only those who have done it will understand that there is actually nothing to do. It can be said to be the most tiring and torturous business. When there is no business, you worry about the business. When there is business, you worry about the output. When the business is booming, there is no other way. You can only expand the production capacity. After the production capacity is expanded, the orders cannot be connected at all. As long as the business declines slightly, what's causing your decline is not your performance, but the countless eyes that are watching you, waiting for work to be done. In this way, the scale of the factory is getting bigger and bigger, but the actual money is not much more. Even if the cash on the book increases, the increase may only be bank loans. The fixed assets of the company on the books are indeed increasing, but all of these are only meaningful to you. The factory is located in the suburbs, and it is still industrial land with limited value added. You even have the right to redevelop the land and change the use of the land. There are no rights. Those factories and equipment are only valuable to those who can use them. To those who can't use them, the factories are just a bunch of buildings that need to be demolished and rebuilt. The equipment is just a pile of scrap metal piled in a dilapidated house. Just like the Hangcheng oil refinery that was demolished by Liu Ligan, decades of continuous investment and construction allowed a small amount of wealth to be accumulated, but when it came time to demolish, those large-scale equipment could not be put into operation until they were frugal. What's the use of the equipment? Aren't they all sold as scrap metal? It's no wonder that people like Lao Ni left the factory and went to Hangzhou, so they left the factory in Qiqiao to their daughter. They had no interest in the factory at all. How great it is to start a company. The splendid Jiangnan office building he bought has now increased by more than 10,000 per square meter. It is easy to cash out. He closed the company and sold the house anytime and anywhere, and he made money. Not to mention the business that Chen Yakin and the others are doing. The things that Chen Yakin and the others are doing make no matter how big the money is, it turns into small money. No matter how big the order is, it turns into a small order that is not worth mentioning. Can't stand that intraday curve, moving up and down a centimeter. Another batch of sample fabrics came out. Mr. Li looked at it himself and felt that it was not ideal, let alone showing it to Zhang Chen. Stop, 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 turn off the machine, Mr. Li said to his men. The roaring machine stopped. Mr. Li sighed and threw the fabric aside. He saw his subordinates standing there, looking at him, waiting for his further instructions. Mr. Li said, "You all take a break first." He felt that he could no longer continue like a headless fly without any sense of direction, so Mr. Li walked out. Mr. Li walked to Zhang Chen's room. He saw Zhang Chen sitting at the table, holding a pen and drawing in a sketchbook. What he drew was a design drawing of clothing. When Mr. Li came in, he smiled at him. Mr. Li walked over and looked at the design draft on the table. His heart moved. Mr. Li said, "Mr. Zhang, can you draw the fabric you want with a brush, like this, preferably in color, and what kind of final effect do you want it to have?" When I saw it, I felt like it's bottomed out. Zhang Chen's eyes lit up and he thought, "You're right. I can't explain it." "Why can't you still draw it?" Zhang Chen quickly agreed and asked, "Mr. Li, do you have any paint in your factory for painting?" "In the factory office, there are advertising paints for writing slogans and publishing blackboards," said Mr. Li. "Okay, that's enough." After Zhang Chen said it, he thought for a moment and said, "Forget it, I'd better go to the city and be back soon." Zhang Chen thought that the advertising paints in the factory were nothing more than 3 or 4 kinds of red, yellow and white. They could be used, but the problem was that there would definitely not be lead drawing paper in the factory. The color drafts could be drawn on ordinary white paper. The effect will be very different. It is better to go to the city for a run. "Do you want to buy paint?" "I'll ask someone to accompany you." "You are a foreigner and don't know where the store is," Mr. Li said. Zhang Chen said yes. The two people walked outside. Mr. Li stood in the corridor and shouted to the office building opposite. Xiao Li ran out. Mr. Li said to him, quickly, you go shopping with Mr. Zhang. He Hongmei from next door came out and asked, what do you want to buy? I'll go. Zhang Chen said forget it, it's a matter of a few hours, I'll go by myself and come back as soon as I go. Zhang Chen and Xiao Li drove to the city. When they came back, they brought back paints, pens, and lead drawing paper. They also bought 2 new sketchbooks. Of the 2 books Zhang Chen brought, one of them had been finished. And another one, which is almost full of drawings. It seems that after free time, it is really a waste of paper. Zhang Chen also draws in this way to calm his emotions and summon his inspiration. He Hongmei cut the lead drawing paper into 16 pages and put it on the table. Zhang Chen picked up the pen, dipped it in paint, and quickly drew a color draft of the design without using a pencil. Mr. Li became excited when he saw it. He said, Mr. Zhang, I can see that your fabric needs to have the breathability and comfort of linen and the gloss of nylon fabric. This is not enough. You also need there's a drape, right? Zhang Chen nodded and said, yes. Mr. Li thought for a while and started writing on the paper. He explained while writing. The writing was for Xiao Li to read, and the explanation was for Zhang Chen and He Hongmei. Mr. Li said, we can do this, use cooked weaving, oh, this is our jargon. Cooked weaving generally refers to yarn-dyed cloth, and raw weaving refers to dyed cloth. We use cooked weaving, 3 kinds of yarn, 3 colors, and it comes out like this. The effect will be good. The warp yarn is made of 32's linen yarn, the first weft yarn is made of nylon yarn 6FDY glossy 70D, which has a very good luminous effect, and the second weft yarn is dyed viscose yarn, which can increase the drape of the fabric. Also, because the colors of the 3 types of yarns are different, after the finished product comes out, the colors will be very rich, and there will be that kind of sparkling, seemingly uncertain effect. In order to increase its drape, we use fine twill to weave it according to the specifications of 133x86. Do you understand? Mr. Li said. Zhang Chen shook his head and said that I had no idea at all. Mr. Li laughed and said to Zhang Chen, in the second half of the sentence, I am not talking to you, but to him. Xiao Li nodded and said, I knew. Then go make arrangements quickly, Mr. Li said. Xiao Li said yes and ran out immediately. Mr. Li picked up the color manuscript and asked Zhang Chen, Mr. Zhang, can you give this painting to me? Zhang Chen said of course. Mr. Li told Zhang Chen and He Hongmei, I'll leave first. Once they've read and are ready to turn on, I'll have someone call you. After more than 3 hours, Xiao Li came over and asked them to come over. When they arrived at the workshop, Mr. Li saw them arriving and told the workers to turn on the machine. The air-jet loom started and made a clicking sound. When the fabric came out bit by bit, Zhang Chen and He Hongmei laughed when they saw it. Yes. Zhang Chen and Mr. Li said, you can drink tonight. Mr. Li laughed and said, okay, I'll stop after getting drunk. Zhang Chen was really drunk during this meal, but he still insisted on rushing back to Hangzhou that night. Mr. Li knew that he was anxious, and since He Hongmei had not drunk much wine, Mr. Li did not force him to keep her. Mr. Li asked Xiao Li to put both kinds of fabric samples into the trunk of Zhang Chen's Audi. The 2 parties agreed that 10 see you all in Hangzhou at the end of January when the fashion show opens. He Hongmei pushed the passenger seat back a little, and then let Zhang Chen sit in it. After Zhang Chen sat in, He Hongmei fastened the seat belt on him and asked softly, is it comfortable, and did he need to move the chair further? Put some in the back. Zhang Chen said there was no need, that was it. He Hongmei then walked to the driver's seat, waved to old Li and Xiao Li, got in the car and left. Looking at the back of Zhang Chen's car, Mr. Li felt a little emotional. He said to Xiao Li, if you can find a wife like this, I will feel relieved. Xiao Li was startled for a moment, then retorted, this He Hongmei is not Mr. Zhang's wife. Okay, Mr. Li said, then it would be great to have such a woman by your side. It's a pity that Xiao He only has Mr. Zhang in his eyes. Otherwise, I would really beg Mr. Zhang to take you there, let's make a match together. Xiao Li laughed, and Mr. Li glared at him and said, why, isn't Xiao He good? Xiao Li quickly said, okay, but she is her and I am me. By the way, how can you tell that Mr. Zhang is the only one in He Hongmei's eyes? Mr. Li made a pop sound, hit the back of Xiao Li's head, and cursed, you idiot, you can't even see this. No wonder you haven't found anyone who looks like you until now. Thank you Lulu 6717 P11, Yun Menjao 1998, Home First Loan, Ching Chuan's Haifeng, and Book Friends 201912162129445008 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1284. He Hongmei drove along Stadium Road and almost reached Woolen Square. When she was waiting for the traffic light, she was home in 10 minutes. She called Xiao Zhao and asked her to ask Xiao Shu to help in the parking lot. She told Xiao Zhao that Zhang drank too much in the morning. Xiao Zhao quickly asked, does it matter? He Hongmei said it's okay, he was just happy. The fabric was trial produced, and he felt relieved all of a sudden. During the meal, he was having sex with Mr. Li, cup after cup. Mr. Li wanted to stop, but he wouldn't let him. This fool, Xiao Zhao scolded. He Hongmei laughed and turned to look at Zhang Chen in the passenger seat. Zhang Chen was still sleeping soundly, but as if he heard something, he raised his hand and then dropped it, hitting himself. Along the way, he had been sleeping soundly without waking up. He was interspersed with indistinct murmurs, and she had no idea what he was talking about. Sometimes they were passionate, and sometimes they were low and melancholy. He Hongmei couldn't help but want to laugh while listening. This is good, this journey is not lonely. She was the first to see Zhang Chen drunk, and she didn't know if it was considered drunk. If drunk could make him so elegant and quiet, this drunkard would be quite cute. He Hongmei turned right, turned into the gate of Jingxiu Home Community, and drove towards the parking lot. The road from the parking lot to each building suddenly narrowed, allowing only bicycles to pass, not cars. This was not the case when Zhang Chen designed the garden. He scolded Lu Ligan for this. Lu Ligan said that he just wanted to prevent cars from driving and parking randomly in the community. There was no road at all, so you had to drive to the parking lot. He Hongmei is now driving a drunk man, and he can only drive to the parking lot, not downstairs of the unit. He Hongmei estimated that she could help Zhang Chen go home, but she couldn't. When others see them hugging each other, they will probably think whatever they want. These people will not care about you. Is one of them drunk? So He Hongmei wanted to call Xiao Zhao. When He Hongmei drove into the parking lot, she saw not only Xiaoshu coming, but also Xiao Zhao and Xiao Fang. The three of them stood side by side and were caught by her light. He Hongmei parked the car and reached out to unbuckle Zhang Chen's seat belt. Xiao Shu had already opened the door and came to help Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen got out of the car, stood still, opened his eyes and looked around. When he saw Xiao Zhao and the others, Zhang Chen said, "Hey, why are you here?" Xiao Zhao knew that he was confused, so he suppressed his laughter and said, "Yes, you haven't been home for so long, let's come and see you." "No need to come, no need to come, it's already fine." Zhang Chen raised his hand and waved and said, "We are going home soon." The other four people suppressed their laughter. Zhang Chen looked around and said again, What kind of hotel is this in Zhangjiagang? Do you think it looks like Jingxiu Homestead? The four of them couldn't hold it back and burst out laughing. Zhang Chen was stunned for a moment and seemed to understand a little bit. He asked, "Am I going home?" "What do you think?" Xiao Zhao asked. Zhang Chen chuckled, "Why did I beep and come back?" He Hung Mei, did you take off again?" He Hung Mei smiled and said, "Yes, I have been caught by the traffic police several times. I will ask you to reimburse the fine tomorrow." Zhang Chen waved his hand and shouted, "The fine is nothing. Fine Xiao Zhao. Xiao Zhao will reimburse He Hung Mei tomorrow." Xiao Zhao said, "Okay, I will reimburse her for everything." He Hung Mei, Xiao Zhao, and Xiao Fang burst into laughter. Xiao Shu carried Zhang Chen on his shoulders and walked into the community. "When I just fell asleep, I saw the clothes I designed. Let me tell you, the fabric is my steel and concrete. I want to use it to shape my body. I won't be like those idiots who put it on my head. Bird's nest, I want them to see what is real clothing design and what is using fabrics to the extreme." Zhang Chen kept talking, "Let me tell you, fabric is my paint. I want to use it to describe Ziza's colorful clothes, the mountains, the water, the people, and me. The fabric is my language. I want to use it to describe Ziza's colorful clothes. It comes to speak and tell you, world, I don't believe it." Zhang Chen finally shouted out this poem from Beidao. He Hung Mei asked Xiao Zhao, "Have you ever seen Master drink so much before?" Xiao Zhao quickly shook his head, and He Hung Mei smiled and said, "I didn't expect this idiot to be drunk. It's quite fun." Xiao Zhao also smiled and nodded quickly. "Who is drunk? Who do you think is drunk?" Zhang Chen asked. "I am not drunk. Let me tell you, I really dreamed about the clothes I designed. It must be amazing. Let me tell you, the clothes I dreamed about is such that." As he spoke, Zhang Chen pushed away the small tree and stood there, describing to them the clothes he dreamed of. He spoke so confusingly that none of them understood what he was saying. Zhang Chen became more and more interested and continued, "If the model wears it, Ma Yanli, I dreamed that Ma Yanli was wearing it, that's how it would be." As Zhang Chen spoke, he actually imitated the model's catwalk and walked forward along the path. After taking a few steps, he leaned to the side and almost fell to the ground. The three women exclaimed in unison. Fortunately, Xiaoshu followed. He was so tight that he caught him in one fell swoop. It's okay, my high heels are broken," Zhang Chen said. Xiao Zhao, He Hung Mei, and Xiao Fang squatted down with laughter. Xiao Zhao cursed, no way, we can't go back to this family." There, Zhang Chen, after saying this, tilted his head, lay on Xiaoshu's shoulder and snored. Lao Tan came back just in time. When he came here, he saw Xiao Zhao and the other three laughing wildly. Xiaoshu tried hard to support Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen obviously drank too much. Lao Tan shouted, "Ouch, what's going on?" Xiao Zhao quickly said, "It's okay, Brother Tan, he is happy today and drank too much. It's strange that Zhang Chen can be drunk. I have never seen him drunk before," Lao Tan said and walked to the other side of Zhang Chen, took his hand, and lifted him up from there. He Hung Mei said, "Brother Tan, you haven't seen much of him. If you come here 3 minutes earlier, you can see him walking the catwalk. You can also see that his high heels are bent," Xiao Fang said. The three people laughed again when they thought about the scene just now. Lao Tan and Xiao Shu took Zhang Chen upstairs, carried him into the room, and placed him on the bed. Then they took off his outer clothes, shoes, and pants, moved his body upright, and let him lie on the pillow. After finishing all this, Lao Tan and Xiao Shu were about to leave. Xiao Zhao quickly said to Lao Tan, "Thank you, brother. If we hadn't met you, we really wouldn't have known how to get him upstairs." Lao Tan said, "Hey, if you encounter this kind of thing in the future, just give me a call. Xiao Zhao quickly said yes. After returning to the room, closing the door, Xiao Zhao went to the bathroom, got a basin of hot water, took out a towel, wiped Zhang Chen's face and body, then covered him with the quilt and let him sleep well. When Zhang Chen woke up, it was already past 6 o'clock. He opened his eyes and was startled. He exclaimed ah and saw Xiao Zhao staring at him. Xiao Zhao was staring at him, and when he saw him suddenly opening his eyes without warning, he was startled and exclaimed yeah. After shouting, both of them laughed. Zhang Chen looked around, saw his familiar bedside lamp, and asked, "Did I drink too much yesterday? Why did I come back from Zhangjiagang and how did I go upstairs? Why can't I remember it at all?" "No, you just sprained your foot while wearing high heels last night," Xiao Zhao said, and couldn't help laughing. Zhang Chen was puzzled by her laughter and asked, "What are you talking about?" "I'm not talking nonsense. You said it yourself. If you don't believe me, you can ask Hongmei later," Xiao Zhao said, telling Zhang Chen all the situations last night, which made Zhang Chen feel embarrassed. Xiao Zhao quickly comforted him and said, it's okay. When you're drunk, you're quite cute. My first one seen." Zhang Chen chuckled and said, "Then I'll show you how drunk I am a few more times." Xiao Zhao nodded yeah. "I was drunk. Apart from these, did you talk nonsense?" Zhang Chen asked. Xiao Zhao said no, you just said that you dreamed about the clothes you designed. "Did I dream about the clothes I designed?" Zhang Chen stared at the ceiling above his head with wide eyes and murmured. Then he seemed to suddenly remember something. He suddenly lifted the bed, got out of bed, put on his slippers and run out the door. Xiao Zhao was startled again and shouted, "What are you doing?" "I dreamed about the clothes I designed, and I saw them." Zhang Chen wanted to go to the studio quickly and copy out the fragments in his mind. Xiao Zhao shouted, "Put on your clothes, be careful of catching a cold." Zhang Chen walked to the cabinet, opened the door, took a cotton nightgown from inside, put it on himself, and walked out. Xiao Zhao shook her head with a smile and looked at the time. It was only after 6 o'clock. She fell down and continued to sleep. At around 8 o'clock, Xiao Zhao got up and walked outside to the living room. He saw He Hongmei and Xiao Zhao sitting here. He Hongmei saw Xiao Zhao, pointed to their bedroom, and asked, "Are you awake yet?" "I woke up a long time ago, over there." Xiao Zhao pointed to the closed door of the studio. He Hongmei and Xiao Fang looked at each other, their mouths wide open, with surprised expressions on their faces. Just now, the two of them were sitting here, laughing together about Zhang Chen's scene last night. It's okay," He Hongmei comforted Xiao Fang and comforted herself. When he was working, he couldn't hear anything. "Xiao Zhao, right?" Xiao Zhao nodded. The door of the studio opened suddenly. Zhang Chen saw the three people outside and shouted, "He Hongmei, come in and take a look." He Hongmei quickly got up and walked towards the studio. Xiao Zhao and Xiao Fang also followed. When they walked to the door, He Hongmei had already walked to the work table. When she saw the three color drawings on the table, He Hongmei exclaimed, "Wow, call." Zhang Chen looked at Xiao Zhao and said proudly, "This is what I dreamed of. You all come to see the clothes I designed. Thank you Lao Chantang for the tip. Thank you Su Yuenian, don't take it too seriously. First Home Mortgage, Wooden Man, and Book Friends 1101152336518898 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1285. Zhang Chen's fashion show design is based on 4 words: mountains, water, poetry, and people. The corresponding main colors are green, blue, black, and white and red. After the main color and theme are confirmed, countless styles and colors can be interpreted. Green ranges from light green, grass green to goose green, and blue can evolve from light blue and lake blue to indigo and blue-gray. Black and white are eternal. The red color system is even richer. In terms of styling, a large number of wedding dress fishbones are used to create various clothing forms. The overall elegant atmosphere is mixed with liveliness and playfulness. After He Hongmei saw Zhang Chen's overall design plan and several key models, she felt like I have it again. I have it. I can hold up the entire fashion show. The skeleton is already there. The most difficult thing is the most complicated part is already there. The next step is to enrich its flesh and blood and enrich its expression. This becomes simple. It's like a little homework. He Hongmei read the entire plan and said to Zhang Chen, "Okay, master, you can get drunk again. From now on, Ji Ling and I know how to do it." Zhang Chen shook his head and said, "I want to finalize a series of flagship models. My protagonist is still naked." He Hongmei burst into laughter and asked, "Is your protagonist Ma Yanli? Her relevant measurements have been sent to New Silk Road. Do you want me to give them to you now?" Zhang Chen chuckled, "Wait a minute, don't rush now. I'm hungry now. I want to eat a big bowl of spicy pian'erchuan. Which one of you wants to go?" He Hongmei, Xiao Zhao and Xiao Fang all said they wanted to go. "Okay, then let's go to Kuiwen Pavilion," Zhang Chen said. When Zhang Chen and the others arrived at the company, it was already in full swing upstairs. Zhao Hailong and his people were moving machines and beds. The security guards from the dynamic zone below also came to help. Ji Ling and the others moved the sample room of the original design center. Also rearranged. There were too many sample clothes this time, and the workload was too great. Zhang Chen temporarily transferred 15 more workers from the factory to serve as sample workers. At the same time, he also transferred Zhao Hailong and put him in charge. All the sample production this time, including the sample workers and pattern makers transferred from Xiaosha and the original design center, were handed over to him for unified arrangement and management. People are coming, machines and accommodations, and of course they have to follow here. So many people have suddenly increased upstairs in the dynamic zone, including Su Kioxin and his foreign trade company, and people are still coming in. The courtyard suddenly becomes lively. A lot. He Hongmei looked at Zhang Chen and asked, "Master, do you have the urge to ask everyone to line up for roll call?" When He Hongmei said this, Zhang Chen really felt like his troops were strong and ready to go. Although these soldiers were originally his own soldiers, they were just in Xiaosha factory and now they were under his nose. When there are more people, the biggest feeling is that it creates a very busy atmosphere here. Especially at night, the only sound that can be heard here is the clicking sound of sewing machines, which makes people feel that the night is always still there. Morning, I feel like I can't go down deep. Not only the sample workers and pattern makers have to work overtime at night, but Zhang Chen, He Hongmei and Ji Ling and the entire design center also need to work overtime at night. The ancestors and the master's wife have all taken part in it themselves, so there is no reason for them not to work hard. Besides, the fashion show is counting down, and all work must be rushed forward, so as to leave time for adjustments and supplements later. The whole upstairs became lively, and Su Kioxin was happier than the others. Whether she saw Zhao Hailong, Ji Ling, or even Zhang Chen, she hummed proudly and said, "You guys have this day too." It means that in the past, their foreign trade company only worked here until late at night every day. Now, when she has nothing to do, she can go to this room and find someone to practice Chinese. Su Kioxin said that she now spends more time speaking English than Chinese every day. She said that she even talks in sleep in English. No, she needs to practice more Chinese every day. But when Zhao Hailong saw her every day, he would pull her and try to speak English with her, which made her very distressed and shouted, "I'm here to speak Chinese to you, you have to speak English to me, you're Zhongshan English, How could I say that? How can you understand it? Zhao's Hailong was so angry that his hands itched. Su Qiaxin giggled, and she agreed that if you stay here for 2 months, I will teach you 2 sentences every day, and I will teach you 120 sentences of English. If I throw you to New York, you can still have food. From then on, she really taught Zhao's Hailong 2 sentences of English every day. She wrote these 2 sentences of English on a note and taught him how to read it, so she gave the note to him. Zhao's Hailong put the note in his pocket, and whenever he had time, he would take it out and take a look. Ji Ling's design center also has He Hongmei's workstation, but she spends most of her time here with Zhang Chen. The conference table has now become their workbench, where the 2 of them design. This makes communication more convenient. This scene makes He Hongmei feel like she is back to the way she was at Sanbeo again. The difference is that now there are Wenwen and Qian, who come in and out every day. They are responsible for numbering all the design drafts. Then, according to the requirements of Zhang Chen and He Hongmei, before designing, I looked at the photos of all the models over and over again and memorized their looks and physical features. The modeling company sent them the information of each clothing model. There were many photos, including ordinary life photos, photos of previous catwalks, and before and after photos of wearing bikinis and standing at attention, so that they could become familiar with this model. Body. This time, the clothing was designed for a specific person, rather than the previous product design. It was designed to be a mass product. Zhang Chen and the others had no idea who would buy it and try it on. This time is different. Each set of clothes this time corresponds to a specific person, so when they design, they have the image of this person in their minds, and the image of them wearing this clothes. When Zhang Chen and He Hongmei hand over the design draft to Wenwen and Qian, they will tell them whose clothes it is. Wenwen and Qian will find out the model's information and write down their relevant measurements. Design the back of the draft so that the pattern maker can make the pattern according to the relevant dimensions. After the pattern maker finishes the pattern, they will check it again to see if the relevant dimensions are correct and accurate. Then they will hand over the paper pattern and design draft to Zhao's Hailong and arrange for the sample workers to make it. After the sample workers have finished making the clothes, they will check whether the finished product meets the design requirements. After confirming that it is correct, they will hang the finished product on the hanger corresponding to each theme, put the paper version and design draft into a file bag, and seal it. Without them checking every step, it is possible that when the model comes to wear the clothes at the fashion show, she finds that they cannot be worn at all, or they do not fit well. That would be a disaster scene, and it must be on site. Scissors, pins, paper clips and clips were used as temporary relief. After a few times, even the models would collapse. Including even the last hanging clothes Zhang Chen and the others designed, including the sample workers. When the samples were made, the order was messed up, but they couldn't mess up here. They put each clothes hanger in order according to the time when the model would walk on the stage. They are all numbered and arranged in order. When the time comes, they can be pushed up and pushed away one by one. A fashion show is different from other performances. More than 30 models come off the stage, take off their clothes, put on their second set of clothes and go on stage. The time in between is very short, only 2 or 3 minutes. If you can't be orderly, the backstage will immediately become chaotic, and more than 30 models will be squeezed into a pot of porridge. It's very possible that this person has put on his top and can't find the skirt, pants, or shoes underneath, or the other way around, even though he's found the clothes he wore outside, but the matching clothes underneath are nowhere to be found, and everyone is messing around in the background. Look, no need to go on stage. Wenwen and Qian matched each outfit from top to bottom, hung it on the same hanger, and wrapped it in a plastic bag. On the outside of the plastic bag, a label was attached, and the label even included which model it belonged to. The costumes and the time of appearance are clearly written. including how many sets of clothes this model will wear today, and which outfit this is, are also numbered and clearly written. When a model comes down, immediately take the corresponding clothes and help her put them on. Those who take them off must be quickly arranged and hung back to the original hangers. The models are spinning continuously during the entire fashion show. Wenwen and Qian also kept spinning. While Wenwen was still dealing with the first one, the second one had come down, and Qian followed. When the third one came down, Wenwen had already sent the first one away. Watching them work, Zhang Chen was very moved. He told He Hongmei, "I really didn't expect that the work behind it would be so meticulous. Of course, we have suffered." He Hongmei said, "In the first play, hundreds of extras were brought to the scene and asked to wear their own clothes. It turned out to be a mess." The director almost cried. The vegetable seller was wearing the clothes of a barber. The hotel waiter was wearing the clothes of a tricycle driver. As a result, it took more than 2 hours for everyone to change their clothes. It's even worse when it comes to catwalks. If there hadn't been such a thorough arrangement, there would have been dozens of hangers and hundreds of sets of clothes on site. You'd be looking for a set of clothes. But before you find the clothes, it's time for them to go on stage. You really let them go on stage naked?" Zhang Chen nodded and said, "It makes sense." He Hongmei smiled and said, "Only if Wenwen Qian and the others are so fierce can we do this job." "What's wrong?" Zhang Chen asked. "On set, some people are very difficult to deal with. When they play a small role, they think they are a big name. When they put on clothes, they think it's not good here or there, which affects their performance. Some people simply refuse to wear it if you arrange it for them. Okay, he wants to change the one he selected, haha, he just needs the two of them to curse a lot before they become honest, and the same is probably true for these models." He Hongmei smiled and said, "Especially Wenwen, she is very powerful. With just one sentence, she can make those people wake up and know how much they weigh and who they are. Otherwise, if one person can't figure it out, other people at the scene will follow the trend." Zhang Chen also laughed. He thought, this is true for any on-site scheduling and management. If you don't have courage, then you are not controlling the scene, but you are being influenced by the scene. Once you are influenced by the scene will be affected. It must be a mess. Thank you for reading the book every day, and for the reward of 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you for the first home loan, King Chuan Zifeng, and So What monthly pass. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1286. The works designed by Zhang Chen, He Hongmei and Ji Ling came out one by one, all for ordering meetings. Zhang Chen, He Hongmei and Ji Ling let the fitting models in the design center wear them. After seeing them, they felt yes, we can send them to the factory showroom for storage first. When all the samples are ready, they will be produced as a unified sample. For now, it is still winter clothing. If you think it is not mature enough, you will directly reject it without even sending it to the factory. This is of course a very frustrating thing for the designer, but for Zhang Chen and Ji Ling, this is daily life. A decision must be made. It is impossible to let an immature design flow to the factory just to take care of your emotions. Once they are turned into products, they will basically bring inventory and losses. Some designers also argued with Zhang Chen and others that they could at least let it hang at the exhibition. There was nothing to lose. What if some customers liked it? Zhang Chen told him that those who came to place orders were agents, not final customers. The agent's vision did not represent the customer's vision. Ji Ling, He Hongmei's, and I's vision would be more accurate than theirs. Don't forget that our products have a replacement rate. Even if an agent takes a fancy to this design and becomes a product, there is a high probability that after leaving the factory, it will still return to the factory and become inventory. Are you willing to see your design turned into a 20 or 30% discount? Zhang Chen asked. He Hongmei said to the designer, this standard is not for you, but for everyone. Even Mr. Zhang's own design will not be passed if Ge Ling and I object. This is the tradition of our company. Speaking of which, the designer had no choice but to leave in anger. The works from the fashion show will all stay here. Some of the works that require hot ironing and high temperature styling will be sent back to Wenwen and Qianqian after being sent to the factory for processing. Wenwen and Qianqian cleared a space in the fabric warehouse, arranged the numbered hangers in a row, and hung the inspected clothes one by one. Sometimes at night, Zhang Chen would take He Hongmei and Ge Ling to Beatty to walk around the site and see the environment. Sometimes they would bring fitting models and let them wear sample clothes, and they would taking a walk, although their physical conditions are different from those of the models arriving at that time, the general effect can be seen. The models in Zhang Chen's design center are mainly used to try on the fit of sample clothes, so when recruiting, they specially choose models who are about 1.6 meters tall and have the same figure and height as most customers. Which is different from the models that New Silk Road and Yifei invited to professionally walk the catwalk. The feeling of a piece of clothing indoors and outdoors is completely different. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei already experienced this when they were working on Harada Shino's movie. This time, the experience was even deeper. At that time most of the time it was still daytime, but now it was nighttime. Although there would be lights then, the difference was still huge. He Hongmei now understood why Zhang Chen insisted on using glittery fabrics. At midnight every day, after the day's work is completed, it's time for He Hongmei and Lu Ligan to clear their accounts. With Wenwen and Qianqian helping out, Lu Ligan cannot escape every night and has to treat guests. Even old Tang I know, at 11 o'clock, I will call and ask, where can I eat meat today? When he made the call, old Tang was either in his factory or in Lin Shuwen's office. Lin Shuwen's evening training class had just ended and he was free. Lu Bang, the founder of the Han Dynasty, Lao Tan and Xiao Shu soon joined their late-night snack army. Zhao's Hailong, Ge Ling, and Su Qiaxin would also go together if they got off work early. After Xiaoshu studied at Gome, he became a complete adult. He no longer looked like a child when he spoke and behaved. He Hongmei encouraged Xiaoshu and asked him to try designing clothes. Xiaoshu quickly shook his head. He said, no, I am not Chen Yifei, I have no feeling at all for that kind of glamorous thing. He Hongmei laughed and said, okay, you are Chen Danking and Luo Zhongli. Of the two of them, one is good at painting Tibetans, and the other is good at painting farmers in the Dabo mountain area. This is not a matter of feeling. Xiaoshu is not forced by life. If he is forced by life, you will, Zhang Chen said. Wenwen laughed and asked Zhang Chen, Mr. Zhang, are you forced by life? Of course, do you still think that I have had no worries about food and clothing since I was a child? When I arrived in Hainan, I didn't even know what decoration was, so I had to learn decoration design. Yes, Zhang Chen didn't understand anything when he came to my place. He just said that he was good at painting. Lao Tan interrupted Zhang Chen, I asked him to try it on the spot, and it turned out that it was really good. He actually did it? And a very good designer. Zhang Chen smiled and said, it's the same when we go back to Hangzhou. When we sell clothes, we first went to Guangzhou to buy clothes. After we came here, we found that the same clothes, our purchase price was higher than the wholesale price in the old market next door. Gao, I didn't go to Guangzhou, and I couldn't even find the source of goods, so I was forced to design my own clothes and let Zhao's Hegang and Zhao's Hailong's tailor shop make them for me, so I started doing it. It is still adaptable, but it is not adaptable, and the changes are not so fast. Lu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty, said, Xiaoshu, you have to learn this from your brother-in-law. Xiaoshu nodded. Zhang Chen said, you don't need to learn. After you have more experience, life will teach you. When I was a teenager, I was so proud. You asked me to paint for money. How could I do it? Later, when I joined the theater troupe, I was so poor. I didn't have enough money to drink and eat, so I became so poor that I started to help people paint portraits of dead people, and help photo studios paint scenes, and earn some money in this way. Throw aside all aesthetic principles and just listen to the money-making clients. You will be kitsch no matter what. Otherwise, no one will come to you, including later going to an advertising company to stand on the scaffolding to paint advertisements. It is even more like this. You can paint no matter how glamorous you are. Xiaoshu, when I say this, I don't mean to ask you to make trouble for yourself. Instead, I am telling you that when you can stick to your beliefs, it is right to stick to it. Don't give up unless you have to. Xiaoshu said, okay, I understand, brother-in-law. Mr. Zhang, I've summarized it for you, Wenwen shouted. Oh, what did you conclude? Zhang Chen asked curiously. Gold will shine wherever it goes, Wenwen said. Everyone laughed loudly, and Zhang Chen cursed, what nonsense words. You must have watched too many Friends. Isn't this word bad? Wenwen shouted, if anyone says I am gold, I will go crazy with joy. Gold is so good. You are better than gold, you are a diamond, one will last forever, Lu Ligan scolded. Time passed day by day, and their fashion show was scheduled for November 28. By mid-November, Zhang Chen was even busier. The team from the performance company kept coming over to confirm various matters with him. Today let's talk about the height, width, length, shape of the T stage, and the carpet laid on it. Tomorrow, I will confirm the lighting and background music of the scene. Zhang Chen thought of a question. He said. That time coincides with the Westlake musical fountain here in No. 1 Park. The two places are not far apart. Will there be any conflict? As soon as the director heard this, he knew it was a big deal. He and Zhang Chen agreed on the spot to go over and have a look at it in the evening. After going there in the evening, the director frustratedly told Zhang Chen that not only would it have an impact, but the impact would be quite big. The speakers in his place were turned on. When they get up, if our speakers try to overpower them, it will become noise on site. The background music of a fashion show is not just music, but also the metronome of the entire event. There are many models, and they control their own rhythm based on the background music, as well as how long they go on stage, how long they stay on the stage, and how long they take off the stage. What should we do? Zhang Chen asked. The director said that the only way is to get them not to open that night. Mr. Zhang, if you can take this place down, you must have a good relationship with the Park Culture Bureau. Please ask them for help. It was Tan Shehen who helped Zhang Chen contact the Hangzhou Garden Literature Bureau. Zhang Chen told Tan Shehen about the matter. Tan Shehen ran to the Garden Literature Bureau and came back to tell Zhang Chen that she had agreed with them that there would be a fountain that night. Is it okay to have lights but no music? Zhang Chen quickly said, yes, yes. Zhang Chen told the director the news, and the director said that's great, Mr. Zhang, how about I come over now and finalize the flow of the entire show? Zhang Chen said yes. The director came and left. When he returned, he would arrange a detailed process based on the agreement between the two people. After the arrangement was completed, he would send the process to Zhang Chen and the two modeling companies at the same time. Just as Zhang Chen put down the phone, Wenwen ran in and shouted loudly as soon as she came in, it's done, I admire myself so much. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei both looked at her. He Hongmei asked, what are you doing? What's the matter? I was just thinking, how can such a big event go without a few people who attract the media's attention? Now it's finalized. 3 celebrities will definitely participate. They will accompany Mr. Zhang to take the curtain call at the final stage. No, Ma Yanli is eye-catching enough, Zhang Chen said. That's not enough. These three are not eye-catching, Wen told them their names. The three were all popular stars on the front line and clients of Zhang Chen. Wen said excitedly. Think about it, Mr. Zhang, if there are three big-name beauties accompanying you, squeaking and squeaking over from the other end of the runway, how big should the photos in the media be? Zhang Chen laughed loudly. Still, do you want to play We Are Pests in the background music? He Hongmei also laughed. After laughing, she thought the idea was a good one. She asked Wen, how did you do it? Simple, I will threaten them. If they don't come, Mr. Zhang will not design clothes for them in the future and let them participate in activities naked, Wen said. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei laughed. What a pity, Wen shouted again. Why is it such a pity? He Hongmei asked. It's a pity that Miss Gong, she is filming on the set and really can't leave. Otherwise, she said she would come to participate. Think about it, if Miss Gong could accompany Mr. Zhang to come out, would those three be needed? Wen sighed, but Miss Gong said she would send a congratulatory message. He Hongmei also felt that it was a pity, otherwise, it would have been on the international page. You haven't told the performance company this news yet and asked them to adjust the process, He Hongmei reminded Zhang Chen, and Zhang Chen was right. Zhang Chen immediately called the director and told him the news. At the same time, he apologized to him and said that the process had just been finalized and I had to change it again. Well done, the director shouted, this is the highlight, and it's so perfect to end it like this. Thank you to Evergreen Yan Dottie, Lu, and Hoo for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1287. By November 20th, all the sample clothes for the fashion show had been produced. The 15 sample workers transferred from the factory were arranged to go back to the factory. Zhao Hailong still stayed here, and he had to take them with him. The sample workers in the design center continue to complete the sample clothes for the order fair, and also see if there is any need to add to the clothes for the fashion show. Wen and Qian directed the designers to push out the hangers in the warehouse row by row. It was a sunny afternoon, and the November sun was warm on their bodies. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei they took a chair and sat in the yard. Ji Ling stood behind them. The designers launched 2 hangers at a time. On the 2 hangers, there were a total of 36 sets of clothes. When they arrived on the T stage, it was just like the models had completed a queue. Zhang Chen looked at the clothes on these 2 rows of hangers, closed his eyes, and imagined those models wearing them passing by him. If the imaginary picture was beautiful, Zhang Chen waved his hand and let them pass, and changed to when the hangers come over, this batch of clothes is considered complete and no longer needs to be modified. If there was any doubt, he would ask Wen and Qian to pause. He discussed with He Hongmei and Ji Ling to see if there were any adjustments or additions. He Hongmei took a pen and paper and wrote them down one by one. They worked like this for more than 3 hours before finishing all the clothes. After it was over, He Hongmei and Ji Ling became excited. They felt that this would definitely be a successful show, but Zhang Chen felt that there was still something lacking. He felt that the poetry part seemed a little weaker, because all of this part the clothes are all in a combination of black and white, and the colors are not as rich as those in the other 3 units, which makes people feel unsatisfied. Zhang Chen thought to himself that some elements need to be added to make this part fuller. Zhang Chen called Lao Tang and asked him to come over. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei returned to Zhang Chen's office. Zhang Chen went to the cabinet and took out a large pile of materials prepared for the fashion show. He found several poetry books among them and put them on at the conference table. He Hongmei took a book and opened it. After a while, She laughed softly. Zhang Chen took a look and saw that what she was holding was a copy of The Wind of Hui by Wang Jingzi. Wang Jingzi is one of the members of the Huapan Poetry Society. The Huapan Poetry Society was established by Feng Suifeng, Pan Mohua, Yang Ziran, and Wang Jingzi in 1922 during the New Culture movement on the bank of the West Lake in Hangzhou, so it is called Huapan Poetry Society is one of the literary groups with certain influence in the history of new literature after the May 4th movement. Why are you laughing? Zhang Chen asked. He Hongmei said, the threshold for poets at that time was really low. This is considered poetry, as if it was written by a child. As He Hongmei spoke, she read out softly, where did the wind come from / the wind from the flower blossoms / the warm wind from the flower blossoms, / the flowers are locked deep in the garden / I am full of resentment / I have a delicate fragrance sneak out of the garden / to attract the butterfly I love. As she read, He Hongmei couldn't help but laughed again. Zhang Chen said to her, this is normal. At that time, they were still trying to use vernacular. The language of Hu Shi's trial collection was also very simple, including Lu Banang's Teach Me How to Miss Her, the same thing, and only Guo Moruo's Phoenix Nirvana. The words are very gorgeous, but do you feel that there is a kind of simplicity and liveliness in this kind of poem? He Hongmei stopped laughing and nodded. That's quite a bit. Especially the word, which seems to have been created by Lu Banang. This word is so good. It's much better than she. When you hear it, don't you immediately feel that there is a gentleness of bowing your head? Using she, it's really a waste to mix women with bad men. Zhang Chen said, and He Hongmei laughed. She said, okay, master, on behalf of the women, thank you for apologizing for them. Zhang Chen also laughed. What do you think of calling old Tang here? He Hongmei asked. Zhang Chen nodded and said, let's be more straightforward. Since that unit is called poetry, I want to simply move poetry into it and turn the team of models into a flowing poetry gallery. This way this can make this unit richer. How to do it? He Hongmei asked. Let's wait until old Tang comes. He Hongmei smiled and said, are you still afraid that if you open your mouth, this idea will escape? It seems that there is really such a worry. Zhang Chen said, I want to wait for old Tang to come, finish what he said in one breath, and let him do it immediately after finishing speaking, and will not accept refutations or different opinions. Anyway, I think, here just need this. Domineering, He Hongmei scolded. Zhang Chen nodded, yes. Before anyone arrived, old Tang's voice came from outside, Commander, I'm here, what are your orders? Old Tang followed the voice and walked in. He Hongmei looked at him and cursed, Old Tang, aren't you going to be confused? What's wrong? Old Tang asked. You call him Marshal, boss, brother, and Mr. Zhang. I'm confused. Who is he to you? He Hongmei asked. Both Old Tang and Zhang Chen laughed. Old Tang said, it depends on the occasion and atmosphere. You can change it freely. He asked me to come now. Needless to say, I know that it must be for the fashion show. It is during the war, wouldn't it be more appropriate to call him Marshal? He Hongmei couldn't laugh or cry. Tell me, Marshal, what's the matter? Old Tang asked Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen told Lao Tang about his current confusion. Lao Tang waved his hand and said, I don't know anything about fashion shows, let alone poetry. Brother, just tell me what you need me to do. Zhang Chen said, I want to add the element of poetry to the queue of models. Every 5 or 6 models, there is a model like this walking, all black or all white, with poetry printed on it, and the black one with poetry printed on it. The white poem, the black poem printed on the white, is made of knitted fabric. This costume is very elegant when moving around. Standing there with her hands open, it is like a screen. People in the audience can read the poetry on her body. Old Tang understood a little, and said, I understand. The sleeves should be made very wide, like bat sleeves. No, no, it needs to be simple, Zhang Chen said, it's just a whole piece of fabric. Fold it in half to form the front and back pieces. Dig a hole in the middle and put a cuff on it so that the head can come out. Here are the two arms. Just use two press buttons to fasten it, so that when her arms are spread out, it is a whole piece of fabric. Yes, this design is okay. He Hongmei was standing by and agreed, but then she asked, why can't we use silk fabric? Silk material is also very suitable for Hangzhou. Zhang Chen shook his head and said, we must consider that it is outdoors. If there is wind that day, the silk will be blown into a flag. The knitted material is heavy enough and has enough drape. Also, the silk fabric is reflective, which is not the case here. It needs to be reflective so people can read the words. He Hongmei nodded, understanding. Zhang Chen and Lao Tang said, the most important thing is that the characters on it should be made tasteful, like the poems of Baijuyi, Sudongpo, and Lin Buletin, using song fonts, and the style of the characters should be made like the type of woodblock printing. The poems written by Zhaimo and Yu Deifu are written in Yao style, and this one written by Wang Jingzi is written in handwriting, a very childish style. Old Tang nodded and said yes, leave it to me. When the manuscript comes out, I will send it to the boss. By the way, when do you want it? Can the manuscript be released at night? Zhang Chen asked. Old Tang said yes. Zhang Chen turned around and asked He Hongmei, what do you think? He Hongmei said, didn't you say that you won't accept refutation and different opinions? Zhang Chen smiled and said, now you can disagree. Now I don't refute or disagree, He Hongmei said, I think this idea is very good. In this way, this unit can indeed be enriched. All the clothes were ready. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei went through them again and confirmed that no more supplies were needed. Then they shipped all the clothes to the factory, waiting for the models to come and try them on. All 36 models participating in this fashion show will arrive in Hangzhou on the 26th. They will rehearse during the day on the 27th and go to on-site rehearsal in the evening. Because this time there are two batches of models from two companies, they need to be integrated into a performance team as soon as possible, and prior rehearsal is essential. The leader of each model company is also their director. When they arrive in Hangzhou, all models, including these two directors, must follow the arrangements of the performance company director and cannot work independently, otherwise the fashion show will be ruined. Turned into a disaster scene. The rehearsal during the day on the 27th was held on the roof of Zhang Chen's factory. The T stage on the Beatty was 42 meters long. Zhang Chen asked Zhao Zhigang to send someone to use red paint to draw and on the roof of the building. The T stage on Beatty is 1:1 size, so that each model, through rehearsal, can know his/her standing position during the official performance, including the number of steps when walking on the stage. After all the clothes for the fashion show were moved to the factory, the large team upstairs in the dynamic zone also moved to the factory, including Ji Ling and all the designers below. They will use these few days to complete the factory showroom. All clothing samples are ready. Zhang Chen and He Hongmei also went to the factory. He Hongmei went to the exhibition hall to help set up the exhibition. Zhang Chen had important things to do. He asked Zhao Zhigang to summon all the workshop directors and supervisors to the conference room. He wanted to hold a meeting for them. Arrange for them to make preparations. Xiao Wang's arrangement this time was to come to Hangzhou directly in the name of inspecting Hangzhou women's clothing. She was the original industry leader, and now she is also a consultant to the China National Garment Association. It is only natural that Zhang Chen and the others have half an acre of land to inspect Hangzhou women's clothing. As the largest brand of women's clothing in Hangzhou, it is normal for leaders to come and show concern. The schedule this time is that on the afternoon of the 28th, the group will inspect Zhang Chen's factory and attend their fashion show in the evening. Accompanying her to inspect and attend the fashion show is the president of the China Garment Association, There are also provincial and municipal leaders. Zhang Chen held a meeting with Zhao Zhigang and others to explain clearly to them the importance of this event. Thank you to book friend 202002090336173338, who reads books every day for the reward. Thank you Yunmenjo 1998, Lao Chen Tang, Lu, and Chuyo 202011091113519223 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1288. The first thing Zhang Chen did when he woke up in the morning was to go to the window and suddenly open the curtains. When he saw the sky outside, it was still gloomy, and Zhang Chen's heart immediately became gloomy. How are you, dear? Xiao Zhao asked on the bed. Zhang Chen shook his head, sighed softly, turned and walked to the bathroom. Xiao Zhao looked at Zhang Chen's back and said nothing, but felt a little distressed. Yesterday's weather forecast came out, and it is expected that today and tomorrow will be cloudy. Sometimes there will be light rain. Zhang Chen's heart skipped a beat and tightened his grip. Even if he calculated it, it would not be able to count the weather, but outdoor activities depended on it. It's still heaven. The models all arrived in Hangzhou yesterday afternoon. Last night, everyone had dinner together at the Tuxianjiayuan Hotel. These tall beauties were still laughing and joking, looking unfazed. The two team leaders and the performers, several people in the company, as well as Zhang Chen, looked gloomy. It was still very sunny in the morning yesterday, but in the afternoon, it turned from sunny to cloudy. Moreover, it will be cloudy for the next 2 days, with occasional rain. It seems that this cloudy day is dormant in a certain place just for this. He came out all of a sudden, as if he was specifically going against them. At the end of November in Hangzhou, the weather had turned cold and winter had officially entered. This time of year was the time with the lowest probability of precipitation, but they happened to encounter it. The two team leaders kept asking the director of the performance company and Zhang Chen if there was a second plan. The director and Zhang Chen looked at each other and smiled bitterly. What second plan would they have? Now, even if they want to move the venue indoors, it is difficult to implement such a large indoor venue at once, let alone the venue in Beijing. I applied for it. This is by the West Lake. It is not easy for people to organize activities. They were really reluctant to let them change the venue. The venue cannot be changed, and the time of the performance cannot be changed. You must know that all the guests and media reporters have arranged their own time and then specially set aside these 2 days. Especially the old leaders and their group are determined to the upcoming itinerary has been notified all the way down from top to bottom, and all levels below have also made preparations for the reception. How can it be changed at your request? Besides, even if you postpone the time, how do you know that the day you postpone it will definitely be a sunny day? Zhang Chen was helpless and even thought about building a roof over the entire 50-60 meter section of Beatty. However, after calling Lao Tan over to discuss it, Zhang Chen himself rejected this plan. There are willow trees on both sides of Beatty. How high and large a roof do you need to build to cover such a large area? And it is a temporary facility. If there is wind, this roof with ventilation on all sides may turn into a huge kite that eats the wind. There are lighting lights and wires underneath. Then maybe it will turn into a giant kite. Accident. If the ceiling is too low and makes people feel depressed, then the light hitting the ceiling and then reflecting back will be indescribably ugly. Zhang Chen felt that he would rather cancel it than put on such a messy show. While eating together, the two team leaders also noticed Zhang Chen's depression and inner melancholy, and in turn comforted them and said, if it is just a light rain, our people can persist, there will be no problem, this professionalism is still there. The big deal. The leaders present were asked to withdraw after announcing the start, and other guests could watch under umbrellas. Zhang Chen smiled bitterly in his heart, what are you looking at? A bunch of chickens walking around in the stands. All the clothes are wet and stuck to the body. As you walk, eyeshadow and black mascara are dripping on your face. Is that a horror movie? The general manager of the performance company told them, "Hey, it's okay. The weather forecast is often inaccurate. It might be sunny tomorrow." Zhang Chen said in his heart, "Okay, if I lend you auspicious words, I hope the weather station will have accurate forecasts for the other 365 days a year, but for these 2 days, they will be terribly wrong." But the sky outside today shattered Zhang Chen's remaining hope, telling him clearly that the meteorological observatory was still accurate. It was going to be so cloudy today, and it would rain at any time. Zhang Chen came out of the bathroom, walked back to the window, and stared outside blankly. Xiao Zhao also got up at this time and went to the bathroom to wash up. When she came back, she opened the door and looked out into the living room. She saw He Hongmei sitting on the sofa in the living room and walked out. He Hongmei was also frowning. She stared at the sky outside the balcony in a daze. Seeing Xiao Zhao coming over, He Hongmei smiled reluctantly. "How's it going?" He Hongmei pointed at Xiao Zhao's bedroom and asked in a low voice. Xiao Zhao shook his head, and both of them sighed. Xiao Zhao sat down and said with a sad face, "It's so difficult. Why are we so unlucky?" He Hongmei was speechless and could only reach out and hold her hand. Zhang Chen walked out, sat down on the sofa on the other side, looked at them, and said firmly, "No, we can't gamble or take this risk. We must have a plan and a backup indoor venue. If it rains tomorrow, we can move indoors." He Hongmei's eyes widened, "But where can we find such a large indoor venue now? We also need to set up a stage, and have lights and sound." Zhang Chen picked up the phone and dialed a series of numbers. After a while, the lazily voice of the director of the performance company came over the phone. "Who is it?" Zhang Chen said, "Director Li, I would like to ask, if you build another indoor stage for filing, does your company still have the ability? It's not about people. If there is a shortage of people, I will I mean related equipment, facilities and equipment. This is not a big problem. If there is not enough, I can borrow it from Zhejiang GE, Hanga, Zhejiang Film and several TV stations," the director said. "Okay, let's prepare the venue for registration today," Zhang Chen said. "Okay, where should I put it?" "Mr. Zhang, do you have any intention?" "Yes, it will be placed in our own lakeside oil painting studio. I will wait for you there at 9 o'clock. You come over and take a look at the venue." The director said yes. As soon as Zhang Chen mentioned the lakeside oil painting gallery, He Hongmei's eyes lit up. When Zhang Chen hung up the phone, He Hongmei shouted, "Master, that's great. How could I have forgotten this? If the glass house is used as a fashion show, don't be too cool. If I had known this, why would we go to Beatty?" Zhang Chen said, "Don't forget that the name of our show is Ziza Colorful Clothes. Of course it will be on the edge of the West Lake. The cow has already been blown out. The lakeside oil painting gallery can only be used as a record. The first choice venue is still in Beatty." Zhang Chen looked at his watch and said, "Let's go, have breakfast, and then go to the lakeside oil painting gallery. Today will not be an easy day." Director Li brought his assistant and stage manager to the Lakeside Oil Painting Museum at about the same time as Zhang Chen and the others. Zhang Chen and Zhao Xian said that a notice would be issued immediately that the museum would be closed for 2 days. Today, they would come to set up a runway and install lighting and sound. As an alternative venue for fashion shows, is placed on the first floor. You move all the existing exhibits on the first floor to the second floor first, seal off the stairs leading upstairs, and put security guards on duty. Zhao Xian said yes and went to make arrangements immediately. The venue of the art museum is originally a large room. All the partitions inside are made of aluminum alloy shelves and baffles, which are temporarily assembled and can be moved at will according to the theme and content of the exhibition. Once all the racks, panels and displays are removed, it becomes a perfect venue for a fashion show. How is it? Zhang Chen asked the director. That's great. I can't bear to use this place as a backup venue, the director said. Mr. Zhang, can you lend me this place in the future? That won't work, Zhang Chen said with a smile. The exhibitions I have here can be interrupted wherever they want. There are many visitors who came from other places to see these exhibitions. They came here and saw that the museum was closed. Haven't you been scolded by them? This time, I really have no choice. Still stingy, the director pointed at Zhang Chen and said, then he took big steps step by step and walked towards the other end, trying to measure the size of the place with his feet. Zhang Chen shouted. No need to measure. 51 times 15 meters is a little bigger than the area in Beijing. The director turned around and walked back. As he walked, he said to the stage manager, let's take the ride here today, by the West Lake. Anyway, we won't be allowed to take the ride until tomorrow afternoon. The stage manager nodded and said, okay, I will make arrangements right away. The director raised his hand and waved back, signaling him not to leave in such a hurry. The stage manager stopped. The director looked at Zhang Chen and said, Mr. Zhang, now there are 2 venues, so the cost. You just add it and don't open the lion's mouth too much for me, Zhang Chen said. Absolutely, definitely, the director raised his hand and waved, and the stage manager quickly walked out. How's it going, Mr. Zhang? I have to rush to Xiaoshu right away. Are you going? Rehearsal starts at 10 o'clock over there. The director looked at his watch and asked Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen said yes, let's go together and you take our car. He Hongmei drove to the Xiaoshu factory. The bus sent to pick up the models from the factory had not returned yet. He Hongmei, Zhang Chen, Director Li and his assistant got out of the car and walked to the exhibition center first. The clothes from the fashion show are all placed here. When the models arrive here, they will first try on the clothes each of them will wear tomorrow. In this way, firstly, they can cope with what's wrong, and secondly, it allows them to have a feel for the clothes they will wear for the evening rehearsal. After they have a real feeling, they will know how to go about it when they get to the stage. Show off the clothes better. When Zhang Chen and the others arrived, Wen Wenqian and Zhao Zhailong were already here. Wen Wen and Qian held a handout folder in their hands, which contained the information of the 36 models this time. They wanted to share the information with the people. Match the numbers and get to know them well, so that you won't make any mistakes in the rush tomorrow. It could be seen that they had rich experience in dealing with similar situations, which gave Zhang Chen a sense of comfort. Thank you for the reward of 2 fishes at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you Qing Chuan's Haifeng, Jiangnan's Hainan 0111, Book Friends 201811302257498081, B.A. Liang, Book Friends 201706220815114559 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1289. The bus came back, and more than 30 models suddenly crowded into the exhibition center. Wen Wen clapped her hands and shouted, all the clothes are here, 1 hanger for each person, 15 sets of clothes for each person. Your names are on the hangers. You can go find them by yourself. After trying on the clothes, hang them up, return it to your original hanger, don't make a mistake, and don't hang it on someone else's hanger. After saying that, she clapped her hands twice more and shouted, also, after putting on your clothes, don't take them off right away. Let our designers and factory technicians take a look at what you think is uncomfortable. Also bring it up to them. Do you all understand? I understand, let's start. As soon as the models heard the beginning, they rushed to the rows of clothes hangers, found the clothes hanger with their own names, pushed it to a free space aside, took off their windbreakers and threw them on the ground. What they did next was this move surprised Zhang Chen. They then began to take off their underwear, and threw the underwear on their windbreakers until they were only wearing bras and briefs. The 30 or so beauties instantly turned into over 30 white bodies, no matter what. There are other people in the exhibition hall, including men like Zhang Chen and Zhao Zhigang. Zhang Chen suddenly felt a little embarrassed and turned sideways. He Hongmei looked at him, chuckled, and cursed lightly. It's strange to see him, this is his job. Zhang Chen understood. It turns out that this is the daily life of models backstage. It is true when you think about it. There are dozens of models in a show. How can there be so many independent dressing rooms in the backstage? Even if there are, you are not allowed. You must take off your clothes and put on your clothes in full view of designers, makeup artists, and hairstylists, so that any problems they encounter can be rectified. And they only have 2 or 3 minutes between getting off the stage and getting on stage, between taking off their clothes and putting on their clothes, and they have to grab everything. Backstage, there are designers, hairstylists, makeup artists, photographers, and assistants and related staff of various people. There are so many people that it is inevitable to avoid them. Wherever there are so many people to take care of, it is always like this, in order to grab time. First, all of them, including the backstage staff, have long been accustomed to this. No one has other ideas. It is for work, as He Hongmei said. If you have other ideas, you are the one who is dirty in your heart. Zhang Chen's face turned red when he thought about it. He Hongmei and Ji Ling had already walked away to see the models wearing clothes. They wanted to know the effect of every piece of clothing on the models. There was another person at the scene whose face was even redder than Zhang Chen's, that was Zhao Hailong. His face was flushed and he stood there coyly. Wen Wen was beating him with the handout in her hand, and shouted loudly as if she was afraid that others wouldn't know. Cursed. Go, you are standing here stupidly, watching what I am doing, go and see if there is anything wrong with their clothes, you bastard. You usually take a look at a beautiful woman when you see one, today is such a good opportunity, everyone is gone, I want you to see enough, why are you scared? Zhao Hailong was scolded by Wen Wen. If he sewed in an orderly manner, he wanted to get in. Those models who only had 3-point patterns on their bodies heard Wen Wen's cry and turned their heads to look. They all laughed, not at all. Apparently, they were accustomed to the reaction of people who saw this kind of scene for the first time. Zhang Chen calmed down and walked towards He Hongmei and the others. When he passed by those 3-point women, he tried not to look at them. But when he had dinner last night, he was the host and toasted every table. Yes, these models all know that he is the boss here and the chief designer of this fashion show. On the spot, some models used their usual way of paying respect to the designer. They turned around and hugged Zhang Chen, kissed him cheek to cheek, and praised, the design is beautiful. Zhang Chen could only murmur thank you, thank you. But he felt that his face had already been feverish, and his brain was dizzy from the smell of various perfumes on their bodies. Zhang Chen walked to He Hongmei and Ji Ling. He Hongmei looked at him and said with a smile, if you don't come over, I will beat you with the handout folder. Ji Ling laughed and said softly, senior sister, this is the first time I have seen that master can also blush. Zhang Chen glared at her and cursed, I blush often, okay. He Hongmei and Ji Ling smiled. He Hongmei said, let's go. Wen Wen is right. If you don't watch, it will be in vain. You will be given an advantage today. Zhang Chen followed He Hongmei and Ji Ling and walked towards the crowd. When he saw a model wearing clothes, he stopped and took a look. He Hongmei looked at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen nodded. He Hongmei was on the model's butt, lightly I patted it lightly and said okay. The model went to change into the next outfit, and they turned to another person. when there was something that needed to be modified, but these modifications were only minor details, Ge Ling would record down the clothing number of so and what needed to be modified. He Hongmei whispered in Zhang Chen's ear, "It's your idol." Zhang Chen looked up and saw Ma Yanli. Zhang Chen saw that she was wearing the clothes she designed, and she really looked like the one he saw in his dream. Exactly the same. So beautiful, He Hongmei couldn't help but admired. At this moment, Zhang Chen knew that he had succeeded. The nervousness and embarrassment also disappeared at this moment. He felt a sense of satisfaction in his heart, and at the same time, he felt that he had fully entered the working state. Next, Zhang Chen became relaxed and at ease. Standing in front of the model, his hands would naturally help arrange the clothes on his body. Even if the model was still wearing clothes, he would help lift the waistband of the trousers or hide the clothes behind the clothes. The zipper was pulled up from below, wrapping her fair skin into the clothing. When the waist is a little too fat, I will use my hands to hoop the model's waist to see how much capacity there is, then turn around and tell Ge Ling how much the waist needs to be tightened. He Hongmei saw it, she stretched out her hand to wave to Qian. Qian came over, He Hongmei and Zhang Chen said, "It's too much, master, let's look at it separately." Zhang Chen said yes without looking back. He Hongmei walked away with Qian. The whole process of trying on clothes took about 40 or 50 minutes. Director Li's assistant took them to the roof. Director Li called Zhang Chen and the two team leaders together. Director Li and the two team leaders informed, an indoor venue will be prepared for backup today. If it rains tomorrow night, it will be held indoors. Mr. Zhang and the others will use cars to pick up all the guests directly from the hotel. Both of them said that this was the best, and that was how they should be prepared. But this way, everyone will have to work harder tonight. We have to rehearse twice. We will go to the indoor side first, and then go to the West Lake after that. At that time, there will be fewer people around the West Lake, Director Li said. All the team leaders nodded, no problem. Also, I want everyone to remember the catwalk and their own positions in their minds. There will be lights for the rehearsal by the West Lake in the evening, but there will be no catwalk. The Catwalk Garden Cultural Bureau will only allow us to set up the catwalk from tomorrow afternoon. However, I will be there, laying a carpet the same size as the T stage, but it will still be a bit hard, so everyone can be mentally prepared. Both of them made an okay gesture. Okay, please, everyone. At the end of the night, Mr. Zhang invites everyone to have a midnight snack. Don't they all say that Tuxianjiayuan is delicious, then it is still Tuxianjiayuan. Director Li did not ask Zhang Chen, but made his own promise to the two team leaders. The four of them separated, and the three of them went to the roof. Zhang Chen went to He Hongmei and Zhao's Hailong. They were picking out the clothes that needed to be altered from the hangers for the workers to alter. Zhang Chen and the others finished their work in the display center below and left all the clothes that needed to be altered with Wen Qian and Zhao's Hailong. Zhang Chen, He Hongmei and Ge Ling walked to the roof to watch the models rehearse. It's cloudy today, and the wind on the roof is a bit strong. It's already the end of November, and the temperature has dropped below 10 degrees. The cold in the south of the Yangtze River is the kind of cold and humid that penetrates the flesh. Zhang Chen saw that the faces of the more than 30 models were already red from the cold, but each one of them was still rehearsing very seriously and attentively. Watching the catwalk shows on TV, I feel that each of them seems to be infinitely beautiful. I feel that the job of a model is really easy. It just involves wearing clothes and walking around on the stage, and that's it. After really watching them rehearse up close like this, I realized that this is really a boring job. They just do this over and over again, repeating the same movements, going back and forth, repeating the same stretch of dozens of meters long. By walking like this, the movements and the positions they need to stand become their own stereotypes. The memory is engraved in your mind. Only in this way will you not make the wrong move or stand in the wrong position when you get on stage. Otherwise, on the T stage, as long as one person walks in the wrong cue or stands in the wrong position, others will not be able to find their cue and position, and it will be a mess. As they walked like this, not only did their faces become swollen from the wind, but blisters would appear on their feet before they knew it, and then they would break out. Every step they took was painful, but they had to maintain a relaxed attitude on their faces. But also smile and pay attention to your eyes. The eyes, the eyes, the eyes should be wandering, a little confused, yes, yes, a little more confused, as if you are not here. It is confusion, not a lack of vision. Confusion is to make people feel that your mind is far away, yes, thinking about a far away place, a beautiful place, where your dearest person is, yes, as you think about it, you will laugh, but don't forget to move. Director Lee was shouting loudly. The three of them stood for more than 10 minutes before leaving and walking down. Zhang Chen said to He Hongmei and Ji Ling with some emotion, whose person's applause and halo is not for hard work. There is no crown in this world that is not for blood and tears. He Hongmei looked at him and asked, "Do you know why these models like to wear windbreakers?" "Why?" Zhang Chen asked. "Wear a windbreaker. When waiting for the show or taking a break, you can take it off anytime, anywhere, spread it on the ground, and sit or lie down to rest for a while," He Hongmei said. Zhang Chen was silent. He thought about it. There is another advantage of wearing a windbreaker, which is to throw the windbreaker on the ground like before and put his underwear and other things on the windbreaker. The models were in the background, probably even with their own clothes. There are no lockers. Everything needs to be figured out by oneself and solved in the simplest way. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1290. At about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the rain finally came down. The models on the roof had no choice but to move to the staff canteen at the back and walk along the aisle between the rows of dining tables. Seeing the rain falling, Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. It is winter now, not the rainy season. There is very little rain. It can be continuous for dozens of hours, days, and nights. The rain has fallen now, and it is very rainy. Maybe tomorrow night it will clear up. Anyway, there is nothing wrong with doing it with both hands prepared. At about 7 o'clock in the evening, the rehearsal at the Lakeside Oil Painting Gallery was just about to begin, and the rain outside had stopped. The rehearsal lasted for more than an hour. After it was over, everyone on and off the stage was very excited. The two team leaders came over to congratulate Zhang Chen and told him that this was the best they had seen in China in the past few years. Show, amazing. The models also stood on the stage and applauded Zhang Chen and He Hongmei below. Everyone is looking forward to a successful performance tomorrow night. Although it stopped raining outside, the ground was still wet. The stage manager called Director Lee and told him that the water on the ground was too serious and the carpet was still wet even after it was laid. Several people immediately got together to discuss. In order to avoid getting the clothes dirty, the rehearsal on Beatty was changed to allow the models to familiarize themselves with the scene and lighting. Instead of wearing performance clothes, they wore their own clothes and completed a stage walk. Anyway, they have already seen the overall effect of the entire show here, and they are already convinced. The next morning, when Zhang Chen got up, his first action was to go over and open the curtains and look outside. The sky was still cloudy. Then he checked today's weather forecast, which showed that it was still cloudy, but sometimes it rained but stopped. This sparked hope in Zhang Chen's heart. Today, Zhang Chen and others divided the work. Lu Ligan and He Hongmei went to Beatty to keep an eye on the scene. If anything happened and they needed to communicate with the Park Culture Bureau, Lu Ligan could call the director when he was on site. Tan Shahen and Zhang Chen went to the factory. When Beijing, provincial and municipal leaders came to inspect in the afternoon, Tan Shahen was responsible for accompanying them and serving as an explainer, so she had to go there with Zhang Chen and the others in the morning. She had no problem with the clothing aspect. She was originally in charge. The store is very familiar with clothing. What she needs to know more about is the wedding dress. Su Kioxin will also go with them. When the leaders inspect, she will follow Tan Shahen. If the leaders ask about their overseas sales, Su Kioxin can help answer the questions. Xiao Zhao and Chu Tianlin are responsible for receiving the clothing department managers of major shopping malls across the country. Qian Fang and Zhao Jingjing are responsible for receiving their franchisees from all over the country today. He Dongmei came here from Chongqing yesterday. Although she is the general agent in Chongqing, she has arrived and today, together with Qian Fang and the others, they are responsible for receiving franchisees. Shang's mission, she and they also have a common language. Su Wenhui also rushed back from Wuhan. He and Meng Ping were responsible for receiving the media friends. Ji Ling will join Wen and Qian today and follow the model team throughout the process. If the models have any questions, they can contact them in time. At Huihuan's Tuxianjiayuan Hotel, all the staff worked overtime today without a break. Whether they were friends from the media, friends from department stores, or franchisees, whether they arrived in Hangzhou by plane or train, they all had drivers. The designer or salesperson is waiting for them. After receiving them, they will be sent to the Tuxianjiayuan Hotel to arrange meals and rest there. Wang Minsheng and his 2 apprentices are staying at Tuxianjiayuan Hotel today. Tuxianjiayuan Hotel is their base for receiving guests. In the lobby, there are more than a dozen kinds of snacks made by Wang Minsheng, which can be used by guests as they wish. One of the apprentices he brought with him was responsible for making milk tea in the lobby. A lot of sofas and chairs have also been added to the lobby for guests who don't need to eat after arriving. Wu Ziyai and Wei Venfang sent 5 vans to carry the rows of clothes hangers. These clothes cannot be folded, so they can only be hung on the clothes racks and transported with the racks. Last night, they packed all the clothes. The clothes were transported from the factory to the Lakeside Oil Painting Gallery. This evening, they had to be transported from the Lakeside Oil Painting Gallery to Beatty, and they had to be on standby nearby. If the weather changes, they will immediately transport the clothes from Beatty back to the Lakeside Oil Painting Gallery. Lao Tan and Liu Bang, the emperor of Han Dynasty, said that it seemed that nothing happened to the 2 of us. Yes, said Liu Bang, the emperor of the Han Dynasty. We, Awen and Lao Tang, drove to the airport and train station to wait for guests. With so many people coming today, just a dozen cars are not enough. Old Tan agreed, and they joined Old Tang and his team to pick up and drop off guests. The entire company has started to move, and even so many friends have also moved together. Zhang Chen looked at the sky outside, feeling that the final decisive battle was coming. Xiao Zhao didn't know when he walked up behind him and hugged Zhang Chen from behind. Zhang Chen turned back and smiled at her. Zhang Chen said, "It doesn't seem like it will rain today, although it is still cloudy." Xiao Zhao said yeah, and she said, "I've already told him." Zhang Chen asked curiously, "Who have you told this to?" "Oh my God," Xiao Zhao said, "I told him, no matter who offended you, no matter how unhappy you are not allowed to cry or rain with a long face." Zhang Chen laughed and said, "Then have you told him that it's still early?" Zhang Chen turned around, picked up Xiao Zhao, and carried him to the bed. He also climbed up and the 2 of them kissed. When they got up again, Xiao Zhao stretched out his hand towards Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen knew that he was going to draw the Zhang Chen brand watch. Xiao Zhao said, "Today I will draw 8 o'clock. "Why draw 8 o'clock?" Zhang Chen asked. "Your fashion show starts at 8 o'clock in the evening." Zhang Chen said, "Okay, Let's draw 8 o'clock today. Zhang Chen and the others arrived at the factory. Zhang Chen, Zhao Zhigang, and Tan Shuhan first inspected every workshop and department in the factory. Zhang Chen saw that everyone was indeed ready, although they did not make a big move. Because they usually have strict management on environmental sanitation and the neat placement of all materials. This was also due to the factory inspection. Although the factory has moved, the habits and systems have been maintained, so this time, they require no special preparation. But from the faces of the employees, Zhang Chen could still see that everyone's mental outlook was different. Everyone knew that today was a big day for their company, and on a big day, they had to show their energy to live up to the big day. Zhang Chen's phone vibrated. It should be a text message. Zhang Chen opened it and found it was from Li Yong. Li Yong said, "Zhang Chen, let me first wish your fashion show tonight a great success. I am proud of you and proud to have a friend like you. Hangpai clothing is not Li Yong's responsibility." In the evening, the party leaders accompanying Beijing and provincial leaders to attend their fashion show were the secretary, the mayor, and the deputy mayor in charge of commerce. Li Yong would not be attending, so he specially sent a message in advance. Text message to congratulate. Zhang Chen quickly replied with a text message, "Thank you, Li Yong. We are also proud of a brother like you." After sending the text message, Zhang Chen still called Li Yong and told him that Mengping, Ganzi, and you would find a place to drink later tonight. Li Yong said yes. Zhang Chen walked to the roof of the building alone. There was no one on the roof. The wind was blowing wildly. The water on the ground had dried completely. The tea stage painted with red paint only took a few hours, but the color was still very bright. Now scarlet alone. The models will continue to rehearse today, but not here, but in the lakeside oil painting studio, on the spare tea stage, walking around with the accompaniment of background music. Zhang Chen's phone rang and Zhang Chen picked it up. It was Xiao Huang. Xiao Huang told him that Grandma and the others are at the Ziza State Guest House now and will arrive at your factory at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. "Mr. Zhang, please prepare pen and paper and ask Grandma to I'll help you write inscriptions," Xiao Huang said with a smile. "She has good handwriting and likes to write." Zhang Chen said, "Okay, I'll get ready right away." Xiao Huang is still in Tianjin and did not come to Hangzhou this time. After they arranged the itinerary, the next thing has nothing to do with Zhang Chen or Xiao Huang. There is a huge system running normally, step by step. The Hangzhou City Government Office will contact Zhang Chen directly. Sure enough, 10 minutes after receiving Xiao Wang's call, the City Government Office called Zhang Chen and told him that the leaders will be at your company at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Zhang Chen looked at Road 1 below, imagining that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, their motorcade would appear at the end of this road, and then get closer and closer to their factory. Before 2 o'clock, Zhang Chen, Tan Shuhan, Zhao Zhigang, and Su Qiaxin went to the gate below to wait. After waiting for 5 or 6 minutes, the convoy arrived as scheduled. The leader got off the car. Zhang Chen hurriedly greeted him. After introducing each other to them, the leader held Zhang Chen's hand and said, "Are you Xiao Zhang?" The young man is quite energetic. Apparently, someone had already mentioned the Xiao Zhang to her. Zhang Chen said, "Thank you for your concern, the leader. We welcome leaders to criticize and correct our work." The leader laughed, looked at the other leaders, and said, "We are here to visit and learn." Zhang Chen and Tan Shuhan accompanied them and walked around the factory. The old leader and several workers on the job chatted enthusiastically and took photos happily. Finally, they returned to the conference room. The leaders saw the table when I handed over the prepared paper and pen. The city leaders and old leaders said, "Chief, please leave your valuable opinions." The old leader said, "Okay, then I will write a few sentences." The first sentence reads, "I wish Hangzhou-style women's clothing to flourish." Then right at the back, I wish Zhejiang Benmuishan clothing. When she wrote about Benmuishan clothing, the leader was stunned for a moment. She turned to Zhang Chen and asked, Xiao Zhang, have we met before? Zhang Chen said that's right, when our Beijing Wangfujing store opened, it was the leaders who cut the ribbon. Over the years, we have grown under the care of the leaders. The leader smiled and said, why do you look so familiar to me? Thank you Moon Bibi and Riri Shushu for the reward. Thank you to Yuzazai Liu, Yunmenjao 1998, King Chuan Zifeng, Nagging Old Deo, and Jip 0000111 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you a nice weekend. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1291. The rain finally stopped and the fashion show could be held in Beatty as scheduled. Tonight's T stage, the main stage is facing the direction of the city. When the models come out from the backstage, they are walking from the direction of Kintai Bridge towards the Broken Bridge. The purpose is to avoid the bright and cluttered city of light. The backstage is located behind the back panel of the main stage and consists of two large tents connected together. The host of the evening was Tan Shahen. Zhang Chen cut the ribbon with several leaders at the beginning and then walked backstage. Tan Shahen explained to the leaders that Zhang Chen was the chief designer today and he had to be there. Backstage, watching the models getting dressed, I couldn't watch the show with the leaders here, and the leaders all understood. When Zhang Chen walked outside the tent, he turned around and looked behind him. He saw the fountain and light show on the West Lake not far away, but there was indeed no music and it would not affect them here. Zhang Chen took a deep breath and walked into the tent. There were many people in the tent because the models had to change clothes here. An air conditioner was temporarily installed inside, so the tent was very hot. Zhang Chen saw He Hongmei, Ji Ling and Jian Qian here. He Hongmei was doing Wenwen's work. Zhang Chen was surprised and asked, where is Wenwen? I don't seem to have seen her at night. He Hongmei said, have you forgotten the 3 red flowers that will accompany you, the green leaves, on stage later? Wenwen is accompanying them in the hotel. When 3 women are together, there will be a fight. When 3 female stars come together, it is estimated that Neza is already causing trouble, and only Wenwen can handle it. Zhang Chen laughed and said, what about you 3? Didn't you 3 cause trouble in heaven? He Hongmei took the handout folder, patted him, and cursed, enjoy the lively scene in front of you. The catwalk had already begun, and Zhang Chen discovered that the tent was full of white bodies. The space here was much smaller than their exhibition center. There were 2 of them, almost next to Zhang Chen, who were changing clothes. But why did Zhang Chen feel that, I seem to have turned a blind eye to these? Ji Ling, Jian Qian, and several designers were helping them undress and change. The makeup artist was walking through the crowd with a makeup box. She was like a decorator. When she saw someone's makeup was a bit messy, just make up quickly. Zhang Chen looked at it and was secretly shocked. He found that these models were changing clothes and their bodies were moving, but the faces stretched out towards the makeup artist were almost motionless. Zhang Chen didn't know how they did it. Zhang Chen walked to the stage from time to time and looked outside. He wanted to know the reaction at the scene today, but he was afraid of knowing. He wanted to ask the 2 team leaders who were coming in and out. They were watching from the side of the stage and they should know the scene reaction, but Zhang Chen seemed afraid to ask. If the response at the scene was mediocre, Zhang Chen didn't know if he could survive. Zhang Chen looked at the models coming off the stage one by one, trying to see something from their faces, but all of them had performance faces, and their eyes were still confused. Nothing could be seen from their faces. Halfway through the catwalk, Wenwen arrived with the 3 female celebrities. They were all wearing down coats, and underneath were the dresses Zhang Chen had designed for them. This is what Wenwen told them to bring. The hem of the dress was too long. Ween Wen thought of a way for them to lift it up, wrap it around their waist, and tie it with a belt. In this way, everyone would look at it. It looks a little bloated around the waist. At first they looked in the mirror and refused to do it. Ween Wen said, "It's night now and you're still wearing down coats outside. Who can see you? When they see you, you are already on the stage. At that time, I guarantee that you are all beautiful. Come on, stop being pretentious. There are so many media on site waiting to report on you. Grandma, if I can get on stage, my bare ass." The three people laughed wildly, and then allowed Ween Wen to make them look like pregnant women. Ween Wen said, "Did you see it? It would be great if paparazzi took pictures now. News of your pregnancy will be everywhere tomorrow. It will be speculated for 2 days and then come out with an explanation. This exposure rate, tisk tisk." One of them was really moved. She told Ween Wen, "Go ahead. You can do it. Go find a paparazzi." Ween Wen scolded, "Auntie, I can find the bad guys at this time, but the paparazzi really can't find them. Which of you brought a camera? Come on, come on, come on, I'll be the paparazzi for a while and break the news." The three people laughed wildly again, letting Ween Wen do what they wanted. They received a call from Ween Wen and agreed to fly over, partly because of Ween Wen's reputation. Ween Wen was in this circle, but she was different from others. She never pretended to be a big-tailed wolf. With such a carefree look, she is always happy when you are with her, letting you follow her, and you don't need to be too pretentious, you can show your true nature. If a fish has been submerged in the water for a long time, it will always come to the surface to take a breath. When the three people saw Zhang Chen, they greeted him enthusiastically. Zhang Chen quickly clasped his hands and bowed to them, thanking them for coming to support them. Ween Wen saw a few chairs in the corner and called to them, "Ants, come on, take a beauty nap there, I'll call you later." The three people laughed and followed Ween Wen. Zhang Chen came close to He Hongmei and said in her ear, "It's not bad, I didn't even get scratched on my face." Poor, He Hongmei cursed, then laughed to herself. The models were walking on and off the stage, and the backstage space was becoming more and more spacious. The clothes that had been worn were placed on shelves. Qian asked the people sent by Wu Ziyawai to move them out and move them to the van. Those who came to move the hangars came in here and saw the endless spring scenery. They all looked reluctant to leave. Qian was so angry that she kicked them with her feet and urged them to leave quickly. They all had evil smiles on their faces. After leaving the tent, I ran very fast on the road, just to hurry back and move the goods for the second time. The truck driver heard what they said and took the initiative to help them move the goods. Fortunately, those models walked around as if they were nothing. Director Li came over and said to He Hongmei and Ji Yiling, "It's almost time for you to take the stage. This is the end of the fashion show." According to the arrangement, first two models will accompany the two designers of today's fashion show, He Hongmei and Ji Yiling, to take the curtain call. Then the three celebrities will accompany Zhang Chen. The chief designer took the stage to take his final call. Ween Wen clapped her hands and said to them, "Ants, it's your turn." The three female stars stood up, took off their down coats, untied the belts at their waists, and lowered the hem of their dresses. The sample worker who was helping here quickly brought an ironing machine to help them iron the hem of the dress. After that, they walked towards the stage together. The models who had finished today's performance stood there tightly wrapped in their windbreakers, watching these three familiar faces passing by with indifferent expressions on their faces. Zhang Chen stepped onto the stage. He didn't know whether it was because the lights on the stage were too dazzling, or because he stayed in the tent for too long. When he got outside, he suddenly felt a little dizzy and exhausted. Those three celebrities obviously had more experience in dealing with this kind of scene than him. Two of them, one on the left and one on the right, took Zhang Chen's arm, and one was walking on the side. The four of them walked side by side along the T stage, facing towards. As they walked forward, it was not Zhang Chen who led them, but they held Zhang Chen between their arms and walked forward with big smiles until they reached the front of the T stage. Zhang Chen bowed to the audience in front, left and right. Zhang Chen's eyes were blurry and he couldn't see clearly who was sitting below. He had been backstage and didn't know how the performance was in front of him. But when he appeared on the stage, the audience gave him warm applause. Zhang Chen thought to himself, it's passable. Zhang Chen heard Tan Shahan introducing the names of the three actresses and saying that the clothes they were wearing were also designed by Zhang Chen and that they were attending some grand ceremony. Zhang Chen couldn't hear clearly and he felt his legs were weak. The walk back seemed long, but we finally made it. As soon as Zhang Chen stepped off the stage, he saw Director Li's outstretched hand and shouted excitedly, "Perfect." Zhang Chen shook hands with him and smiled. Zhang Chen returned to the tent. Hung Mei noticed that Zhang Chen's face was a little ugly. She hurriedly came over and asked eagerly, "Master, what's wrong with you?" "Nothing, just a little tired," Zhang Chen said. Qian quickly took a chair and let Zhang Chen sit on it. Ji Yiling came over with a glass of water and said to Zhang Chen, "Master, drink some hot water." Zhang Chen said thank you and took it. After sitting down, Zhang Chen felt that he was really tired, and then he realized that he had actually been standing in the background this night, but fortunately, he was finally relieved, and he got through the most difficult moment like this. The next day was their company's internal event. The franchisees who participated in their fashion show the night before returned to the factory's showroom to participate in the 2003 half-acre field spring and summer clothing ordering meeting. The ordering meeting was unprecedentedly grand. Hidong Mei and Zhang Chen said, "Mr. Zhang, now we have left other brands behind. Have you ever looked online? Everyone on the internet is talking about our fashion show, saying it is too beautiful." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "I really don't have time to go online." Yes, after yesterday, the other people went to Tuxianjiayuan Hotel for supper. Zhang Chen, Meng Ping, Lu Ligan, and Li Yong did not go anywhere, but were in Zhang Chen's office. Xiao Sheng helped them bring some clay pots from Tuxianjiayuan and Meng Ping's salted duck, and they drank and celebrated in Zhang Chen's office. Zhao Zhigang walked into Zhang Chen's office with a happy face. Zhang Chen looked at him and asked, "Why are you so happy about your second marriage?" Zhao Zhigang told him, "Boss, tell those customers not to place any more orders. If they do, we won't be able to make them in the factory." "Why didn't you tell them yourself?" Zhang Chen asked. "I'm afraid they'll beat me." Zhao Zhigang walked out with a smile. Xiao Zhao walked in from the outside. The clothing department managers of large shopping malls across the country attended their fashion show last night. Today they came to see the spring and summer clothes in their showrooms and visited their factories. Xiao Zhao said that they all have the intention to introduce our brand. Zhang Chen said yes, let our agents in various places contact them directly. Zhang Chen looked at Hidong Mei and asked, "Pacific Department Store, do you want to go in and do it?" "Of course we have to do it," Hidong Mei said. Xiao Zhao told her, "Let's go, I'll take you to meet their clothing department manager." Just as Xiao Zhao and Hidong Mei walked out, Lu Ligan, Tan Shahan and Su Wenhui walked in. As soon as Su Wenhui came in, he shouted, "It's popular, Mr. Zhang, it's popular this time." Zhang Chen looked at him, and Su Wenhui continued, "Japan's NHK, Taiwan's Dongsan and TVBS, Hong Kong's ATV and Phoenix TV have all reported on this fashion show, and CCTV's evening news will also report on it tonight. I have seen the articles in those magazines and newspapers, and guess what they said? They said this is the most international level fashion show in China in recent years. Thank you Lao Chentang for the reward of 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you Jiangnan's Hainan 0111 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health.